I don't know how many of you had a chance to see the group. So we are starting a chapter in Coimbatore. So it's already officially it is launched. They have their installation on the uh, 20th. So it's going to be the first chapter within India this time, other than the local chapter that we have. Yeah. Rashmi, has Hayat joined? Can we start?
Yes, Sanjay.
Has Hayat joined? He said
Yeah.
he'll join back in a minute.
He's still here on the same device.
Okay. Vikram, are you there?
Yes, Sanjay, I'm here.
Okay. Shall we start?
Yes.
Okay.
I think Hayat has just stepped out. 1 second. He's
Yeah,
not here.
just we will wait for him for a minute.
He said, I will check something in my audio and get back, he said.
Yeah.
Good evening, everyone from Bangalore. I'm in Bangalore, Sanjayji, today.
Oh, very nice, Nagjyoti.
Yeah, I am in Karnataka State Pollution Control Board, and good news is that the industry approval got. We were having a presentation on environment.
Oh, very nice. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Will you be here for some time or you're leaving?
No, we are just leaving tonight.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, for presentation we came. Me and my father-in-law.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
I think Rashmi Hayat is here.
Yes, I think he's joined back, but I'd like him to confirm. Okay.
Hi everyone, I'm here.
Yeah, hi Hayat. Shall we start
Hello.
here? Yeah,
Yeah,
shall
we
we
can,
start?
please.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks all for rejoining. My sincere apologies for whatever technical problems we had on the last date. That's our usual date, fifth day of every month. Um, I thought we will not have much crowd that day because of the cricket match. We have a few members join, so have that all joined at the same time. I'm really sorry that we had to reschedule this technical reasons. Hope all of you are doing fine. Just to say a few words about our fellowship group. We are members of Rotary International. Certain members having common passion came together to work with this 121-year-old organization, Rotary, and towards wildlife and its conservation. We thought that Rotary towards building a future in which people and nature would thrive, would be a good idea to start a fellowship group, and that's how we started. We have crossed 1,000 members of our fellowship group, and currently we are having chapters in Argentina, Trinidad, and Tobago. We have members from different parts of the world. And also we are going to start another chapter shortly in uh, Coimbatore district. The launch is on the 20th. And we are looking forward to doing wildlife related activities there as well. Our purpose is to create awareness about importance of wildlife, to promote lasting friendships outside one's own club, district and country, to promote locally, regionally and globally that conservation of living resources are important to humans and future generations to enjoy our natural world and incredible species that live in it. So today we also have members from different Rotary clubs and from members from other parts of the world as well. And on behalf of wildlifers, I extend a very warm welcome to you all, and also to our speaker, Mr. Hayat Ahmed. Yeah, over to you, Vikram. Kindly introduce our speaker.
Thank you so much, Sanjay. My pleasure to introduce Hayat Mohammed again after um, challenges last time. Hayat Mohammed is an IT professional who takes to nature to keep the sanity levels in check. Born and brought up in Bangalore's open areas during the developing era, fueled the interest towards insects and butterflies in him. He now uses macro photography as a means of exploration and as a mode of showcasing the many wonders of the arthropod world to the human world. Welcome, Hayat. It's been a pleasure following you on various social media all these years. Hope to go out soon with you, with many members of this fellowship as well. And over to you. Thank you so much for joining us today again.
All right. Thank you, everyone. I'm loud and clear. Hope you're all able to hear me right,
Yeah,
Vikram.
it sounds
Yes, we
good.
can hear
We
you
can hear
right.
you.
All right. Perfect.
Rashmi,
All
if you
right.
could share the deck, please. Yeah.
Sure. I think, again, thank you for having me here. I think based on the introduction, I used to have this, I used to joke around with my friends saying, I'm glad I have found more like me, right? And I'm very happy to be amongst you all. Yeah, I think this is the right
Lovely. Yeah.
forum to be sharing that passion, right? And probably no prizes to guess what many of my friends used to jokingly call me. They would call me bugger, right? Which is mad about the bugs, right? And both in terms of the passion as well as the profession. So I'm also a software architect by profession, right? And currently head the Havells IoT divisions. Right? So this is what I do during for my day job, and this is what this the IT section does everything it can to take away your sanity and the love for the natural world. Deep levels in check. Yeah. So Rashmi, if you can share your screen and we can get started. All right, lovely. Okay, so as the title says, in kingdom that's literally hidden in plain sight, right? So when we talk about nature and animals around us, how often do we see either an elephant or any other kind of a mammal? Probably once a quarter at best for most of us city folks, and maybe others who are blessed, maybe a little more. But insects are something, and arthropods especially, are something which you come across a lot more often. And the last decade or more, I have spent um, time trying to explore what this kingdom has hidden from us, not by accident, but actually by design, right? So there's several different factors to really consider. They're around us, but often go unnoticed. But once you start noticing them, and I think the sucker punch really does come where you start going for the devil is in the details. And I think macro provided exactly that for me. Yeah. So next slide, if you can. Yeah, okay. I'll just skip this based on the earlier introductions that we had. I think this group already knows what there is. Yeah. So just a quick silhouette layout of the various kinds of insects. This is just a very small subsection of what's out there. Yeah. Next. All right. So we've all known the hunters of the sky. We call them as dragonflies, right? Dragonflies and damselflies. They spend the majority of their life underwater as amazing predators, but do emerge out and dominate the skies as well. But the only insect probably that beats them in terms of accuracy and vision is probably the robberfly on the left. Rashmi, is there a possibility you could slightly zoom in? Yeah. All right. Yeah. So I think the uh, compound eyes, as we speak of in multiple insects, right? So it's very clearly seen here. And then, yeah, if you could just probably scroll to the left a little. Right. Okay. So we've seen this whole compound eyes bit, right? And anybody else who see maybe another grasshopper in the mix, which looks like a grasshopper or is remotely controlling the robberfly itself? Can you see where the antennae are? And that structure, if you could probably just spare some of your creativity, you'll be able to see maybe a grasshopper right on the middle of where the head is. Yeah. All right. So this again has, because thanks to the compound eyes, amazing vision, and just like normal flies, their wings are modified into these structures called halteres. So these enable quick change in direction. And on the right here is a beautiful looking jewel beetle, right? And these beetles, like if you can just probably scroll back to the earlier slide. Yeah. In many of these silhouettes, if you can see, the wings are outward, right? You see the wings projected. But in the beetle family and some of the true bugs as well, the wings actually are a lot larger than the body structure, and they fold in almost like a origami structure, right? And these are much more delicate. And to protect that, they have a hard chitin casing around it, and they're called the elite. All right, if you can move on to the next slide. Yeah, the next. Yeah. All right. So here we see assassin bug. So we've all known proboscis, the term, the moment we hear with the look at butterflies. But here the um, mechanism remains the same, which is to, I think the sharing stopped. Is the sharing on for others? All right, perfect. Now it's back. Right. So apart from the pretty fancy hairstyle in terms of spikes, what you also see here is the proboscis, which is the straw-like structure, which we often associate with moths and butterflies. Right? But here, similar, but a much more sinister way of feeding, where the assassin bug injects venom into the subject, or the prey in this case, and that literally liquefies the inside, and uses that to suck up the nutrients back. We can move on to the next. Yeah. So we've all heard the phrase "built like a tank," right? So in this case, you have many insects which truly are a classic example of this, right? So here is a monkey grasshopper. So you can move on to the next. So any guesses on what this is? I would love this to be a little interactive, else I'm going to get really bored. Any guesses?
Looks like an ant.
Looks like an ant, all right. So in this case, this is actually a proper cricket. You actually see the. I think, Rashmi, the message is allow guests to unmute themselves.
Locust?
Say that again. So that is not a locust. So
Locust?
Say that again.
Is it locust?
No, it's not. It's not.
Is it a locust? Is asking.
No, not a locust. This is a proper cricket, right? So this is a bush cricket, as we call it, right? So you can actually see the specialized feeding apparatus as well as the gripping end of claws, right, which allow that movement. You can move on to the next. Yeah. So again, so there are these. Um, so the thing is now, what's true and what is not, right? So, this was one of the few questions which I had when people would use the term, "This is a true bug. This is not." So if you go back to the earlier slide, the crickets and all of these, they do not have the proboscis. So a true bug is supposed to have a proboscis. So the bugs which I've pictured here, on the left are Corridae, and on the right, uh, cotton stainer bug. Both of these have those exact ones. Yeah, we'll move on to the next. Right. So again, the Diptera, the flies and bees, right? So these are a fascinating genera to observe. If you can zoom in a bit on the left, right? So any idea where, any guesses where probably somebody could have got the concept of laces,
Yeah, it's
shoelaces,
quite obvious where it came
right?
from.
So it almost is stitched together where you can have a split down the middle and it comes together. It's a pretty amazing. And then again, the compound eyes that we see, and the multiple bristles or the hair on the body. This is what keeps them from getting squatted by the newspaper that we try, right? And a fun fact, so I was actually looking at how these are structured and why they have such amazing capability to get out of tight spots without getting squatted. Any guesses which direction they jump? Up, sure. So not in terms of up or down, front, towards the front or backwards?
Should be backwards.
Backwards, right? So the reason is pretty simple. If you go back to the grasshopper image, grasshopper one, the one before this. Yes. So yeah. So you see this, right? So the moment you start asking questions, the unraveling begins. So here you actually see the hind legs, which are much longer and they go beyond the abdomen upwards. So this, when they extend, they go forward, but in flies, the front legs are much longer. That helps them go backwards. Yeah, we'll move on to the next. Right, so you see the front legs, how much longer they are in terms of the length. Yeah, next. Yeah, and again, procreation, that's the only way to keep these species going forward. Next. Right, and so here's a small swarm of honeybees. Next. Right, so here's anybody who's into gardening will probably recognize their what is it?
Aphids.
Aphids, yeah,
Aphids, yeah.
the ones who are really, really hard to get rid of, right? And they appear out of nowhere. So those are aphids on the left, and some
Farmed by
amazing facts
ants,
which I
right?
will say that again.
Farmed by ants.
Say that again.
Some ants farm, they
Oh
grow
yeah, yeah,
aphids.
they do. Oh yes. These aphids, they literally uh, consume the sugars and sap directly and from the stalk itself and produce something called as honeydew, which is what the ants get in return for providing security. All right, so Vikram says he squatted a fly. It wasn't too good for it though. All right, and on the right there is a scale or a wheel bug. All right, you can move on to the next. Right, so we spoke about how the elytra or the um, hard covering exists above the wings, right? So you see on the right, I jokingly say this is the most crunchiest groundnut you can have. So this is a weevil doing its best to look like one. And on the left are two mating tortoise shell beetles. So you can actually see the structure, how beautiful it is in terms of the translucence as well as the place where you can see the elytra open up and the wings can literally come out. Yeah, on to the next. Right. So again, see, these wasps, right, are absolutely fascinating. They come in all different sizes. I think the most specific one that's seen according to ourselves, and which we've seen as a direct result, are figs. So apparently, the figs cannot uh, propagate or pollinate without the wasp figs, the fig wasps themselves going deep within and finishing the pollination. So in this case here, right, you see the spider wasp. In this case, it's carrying a caterpillar, a moth caterpillar. All right, so this injects a venom which sort of incapacitates them to some form, and they lay eggs within the soft body, and the larvae literally eat the caterpillar inside out. Right. So we've all seen teamwork, right? Where we say we are the best at things, we learn to coordinate. But I think nothing is better than watching ants at work. And here you can actually see the weaver ants pulling together two leaves. And then eventually, this is after they've closed the gap, but if the gap's more, they actually form links where they latch onto each other's abdomens and create a link of several ants to get ants. They pull the leaves together and then use the pupae to use the silk from them to go ahead and weave the leaves together. Right. On to the next, please. Yeah. So here's a very nice looking moth. I think this is parotis or something of that sort. Yeah. On to the next. Right. So here's we've all seen the common pierrot, right? So this is its cousin. Yeah. On to the next one. Right. So we were speaking of how the structure, right, of wings really helps with robber flies. Where so you actually see here, right, you have two distinct uh, sets of wings. So here the dragonflies as well as the damselflies have a very distinct thing, and they are almost like origami, but in this case they don't have the luxury of getting them protected by the elytra. And you can actually see the eyes themselves are split down middle, and uh, the very slender abdomen and body helps keep them really agile in the air. Right. So on the left is the most common one we see, the wandering glider, and on the right, I think, is one of the marsh ditches. Right. So yeah. So we've all seen, right, how there were three sections in the body of a insect, right? It had the abdomen, and head, thorax, and the abdomen, right? In arachnids, something weird happened. Next. This. right? So in arachnids, they literally had the way they evolved is they didn't have the specific need for a separate body and abdomen. So they just have the abdomen, which is sort of fused into the thing. Yeah, move on to the next. Yeah, on to the next. Yeah, so this is a very, so I find this often asked by people, right, where they say, how do we identify spiders? And I say, hey, you got to look at the eye structure. So this almost becomes like the joke, right, where some say, how do we identify if it's a venomous snake or not? And some say, you look at the scale pattern, the way the tongue flicks, and if it's split down the middle. And people generally come back, when I'm seeing the spider, there's no chance I'm going close enough to look at the eyes. So, but this is a fair, or rather, a very great resource to see how the eye structures are laid out in the various families, right? I think around our household, we'll probably come across most of these lycosids on the floor or the garden floor, the salticidae on the right, which are the jumping spiders, right? And the falsids on the top left, which is the cellar spiders that you will see around yourself, right? And on the left, if you can zoom in slightly. Yeah, right. And this is exactly how most people describe spiders to me, saying it had many legs. And like, no, it just had 8, right? So this is just a reflection of one of the jumping spiders you actually see, right? The anterior median eyes in the front are much larger than the rest. And on the right, if you scroll a little, yeah, so you actually see the cannibalism at work. Here you've got the telomonia, two two striped jumping spiders. So these are females, which are the much larger female on the left is cannibalizing the smaller one. Right, on to the next. Again, they come in various forms. I think the one on the left here is called the chrysilla, right? And this is one of the most stunning shiny spiders that you can find around. And on the right is the lynx or the Auxiop spider. Right? If you can just zoom in slightly, you'll be able, on the right, you'll actually be able to tell which is the most favorite baby. Right? You actually see the small spiderling on the mother's back. Right, on to the next. We'll probably, okay, anybody interested in understanding life stages or probably just looking at images? Okay, a quick thing then, since we are here already. So there are several stages. So one is the ones which have a nymph stage is where from the egg they emerge and they're literally copies of the adults with just some adult structures like the wings which have not formed. But in the other cases where there is a full transformation, there is a pupal stage where from the eggs larvae hatch, they pupate, and then the actual adult emerges. Yeah, on to the next. All right, so now the favorite part, right? So where I get to talk why I'm so fascinated by them and what makes them special. We'll move on to the next. Right, so you've got warning colorations, which is spread across the animal world, and it continues in the insect world as well. Next. So parental care. So do we see some cylindrical structures? Those are the actual eggs of the assassin bug, which is neatly stacked. Yeah, well, let's move on to the next one. Next. Yeah. So we've all seen, right? The chickens, they tend to keep their young under their wings. Did we know that even some cockroaches do that? So here's, I think, what it's called a wood cockroach or something of that sort. Here you can see the young ones hiding below the adult. And if you can zoom in slightly on the earlier one, you'll also see a red hitchhiker, orange colored hitchhiker. That's a mite. Yeah, on to the next. Yeah, so here you actually see the wolf spider with its baby. So this is a very interesting thing, right? Where with wolf spiders, where they carry wolf spiders as well as the huntsman spiders, they carry the egg sac around. And in case of the wolf spiders, the young literally stay on the mother for a very long time. Right. Okay. So do you think this is parental care? I'm sure we've seen
No.
kids and how well they get along with each other. So in this case, the here pictured are the lacewing eggs, and they are highly cannibalistic. So the way they've evolved is literally everyone is given one long stalk and the egg, and each stalk has an egg towards the end. So that sort of reduces the proximity between them. Yeah, well, let's move on to the next one. Right. So we've all seen PPEs at work, right, during the COVID time. So here's their own specific PPE, in this case, the elytra guarding the much more delicate wings at the bottom. We think of communities something that only we can build, but bees, ants, wasps do this. So these are this is a colony of what are these paper wasps. Yeah, next. So here are the other epitome of communities, termites. Next. Right. So we looked at the earlier one image, right, where we had aphids and they were guarded by some of the ants. So in this case, you can actually see the tree hopper, and below that are the neatly lined up eggs in rows, and that is being tended to by a ant. Yeah. How do we blend in and vanish? So believe it or not, there's a spider in this picture. If you can zoom in slightly, you'll see the structure. So this is called the Selenopidae, or aka the flatty. Right, let's move on to the next one. Again, the green link spider here. Next. Next. Right, on the left is one of the most amazing nymphal forms that you'll see. So that is a, what's that? What do you call the common name? I forgot. All right, okay, and on the right is, these are called the kudu bugs. These are the nymph forms. Let's move on to the next one. Right, so we spoke of the, or rather we remember seeing the way the spider wasp picked up the caterpillar, right? And in that case, it was buried inside. There are other smaller wasps which do not bury the paralyzed caterpillar, but just leave them wherever they are, incapacitated, and just lay the eggs within the body, right? And this is exactly what, if you can just zoom in slightly, you'll actually be able to see the cocoons of the wasps, where they've ravaged through all of the nutrition that the caterpillar had to provide. They've emerged from it, pupated on the remains of the caterpillar, and then they'll emerge from there. Yeah, let's go to the next. Right, and we think of our kids and the next progeny. So here's a much more sinister one, which is again a wasp itself on the pentatomid eggs. So these go ahead and lay eggs within the egg. So these are called parasitoids, right? So there are the ones which go after some of the soft-bodied ones, but the others go after the eggs themselves. Yeah, next. Right, they again insects.
There are some questions if you want to take them. There's
Yeah,
one
sure.
from what are the bristles on the spiders and many insects used for?
So that is essentially for uh, some sort of sensory thing, right? So it allows for wind movement because some of them have very basic eyes, which only look for change of light or direction. So this aids in additional sensory input. Yeah, sorry, if somebody can read them out for me, that would be great. Because I'm on a mobile right now. I am not. I don't.
No, we can
It's
do
not
that.
too.
No, I had just asked anyway during the call sometime if you could also touch upon how you take these photos. I know you do some stacking and other things. There's some
Sure.
photographers also interested, whether
Sure.
it is with phone or with the camera. Anytime during the talk, nothing in between.
Sure.
Whenever.
Sure. Yeah, probably a couple of minutes of these slides, and then probably I'll get to that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of us have questions on that. So
Sure. Sure. We'll spend time on that.
yeah. So those who have questions, they can also keep posting on the chat. Ask again.
Right. So again, so some of the superpowers, right? So we all believe if we could have more telescopic vision. So in this case, the jumping spiders, and especially this Cocalus jumping spider, where the anterior median eyes are much, much larger than the other. Right. On to the next. Who would have thought insect or a cat or a worm would be able to figure out how to build a tapering object by stacking small logs of wood, and how to really uh, vary the length so that it starts tapering. So in this case, this is a bagworm moth caterpillar. Next. Imagine sleeping with just using your jaws locked in. The leafcutter bees with their amazing jaws. Next. Right. Okay. So let's zoom into the image on the left a little. Yeah. Yeah. So you see the underneath the ventral section, right? So if you see below the mandibles, you see some fine egg-like structures. Those are actually mites. So these do not harm the insect, but essentially use it for transportation. So you'll find them on these beetles and some of the times on the underbelly or the abdomen of the damselflies. Yeah. And on to the right is where you see how they use their superpowers to take down prey much larger than themselves. Here, a reen jumping spider taking down a much larger neoscona. And on the bottom, you'll actually see where they can literally walk on water because of thanks to the whole bristles and all that we were discussing. They are quite hydrophobic. Yeah, on to the next. So Rashmi, what we'll probably do is you can just keep pausing probably for a second and run through a few of them. I'll let you know if there's something to pause through. Yeah, you can keep scrolling slightly with a 1 second pause, perhaps. Yeah, so here's a, sorry, yeah. So the other thing, right, where we were talking of superpowers, we've all seen, or at least our kids have spoken about Tony Stark and how Iron Man suits help, right? So in this case, they actually come with built-in suits, but the problem is the suits don't allow them to grow. And as their body grows from the inside, they literally have to shed. So this process of molting, if you can go to the next one, you will see the grasshopper, which is coming out of this much smaller structure on the left, and this is the freshly molted gaudy grasshopper. Next. So here's the remaining exoskeleton of the uh, dragonfly. Next. So this is one of the most fascinating sights I've seen, where imagine on the left, right, if you notice the size difference, the shell on the top is what the cicada would have been underground, but as it emerges, the body expands, the wings open up. It's just hard to imagine how that bigger creature would have fit into that small shell till a few hours earlier. And on the right, you see the two-tailed spider, which has used gravity to wriggle out of its old skin. So here the kudu bug that we spoke of earlier. So the eggs, which are cylindrical in structure, and the various life stages. So the smaller ones are the nymphs. Yeah, let's move on to the next. Yeah, the teamwork here, owlfly being picked off by the crazy orange ants. Next. Yeah, so we've all seen camping, right? People like to camp around together. But in this case, these are some of the pupae which exhibit this thing called cycloalexy. And you can literally see how they've pitched their tents together. If you can zoom in slightly, so each of the tent, if you can visualize them like a pupae, and they have a silken thread where they've anchored themselves, the dots at the end. Yeah, let's get on to the next one. Yeah, so here, right, so forbidden grapes. So we spoke of, this is the probably a few stages prior to them, the larvae actually forming cocoons on the caterpillar's body. Yeah, a crazy looking, this looks like a mantis. It's not, it's a mantis fly. All right, on to the next. These are the amazing ant lions. So some of you might have seen these sand pits and what they do to the ants once they get in. Next. The lobster moth caterpillar, very bizarre. Next. The lacewing larva. So this actually is a very active hunter of aphids, as well as many other smaller arthropods. And the beautiful part, or the most macabre part, is it uses the exoskeletons to decorate itself and look more fuzzy. Yeah, next. All right, so a quick thing before we stop, right? So where to observe? So these arthropod insects are literally everywhere and around us. Any open spaces, um, uh, spaces without insecticides is pretty amazing to see that. And so we spoke of conservation, right? What do we try to conserve? We only try to conserve which we feel a connection to. If there's no connection, you don't feel anything about it at all. You don't feel a strong need for conserving it. So the more we see, the more we understand what a total ecosystem can be like. It could be as small as a small twig or a branch of a tree. That could be a full ecosystem on its own, right? And then you start observing, you start recording on platforms such as, say, eBird or iNaturalist. There are many fascinating behaviors which we take for granted and which have never been recorded. And I've been blessed to have recorded some which have opened many doors to access in terms of amazing people who are very passionate in this, and also amazing natural history sites. Right, so I'll probably take a pause here for some questions. So I would love to know what you thought of these.
Sir, really fantastic, sir. Very
Thank you.
awesome, mind-blowing pictures.
Thank you.
Basically, I am a BSc geology student. Very
Mm.
nice memories. So far 30 years back, I saw some insects and all. Very thank you so much, sir, for coming and sharing your memories. Very nice
Oh, the pleasure
photographs
is
and
mine.
coloring
It's
and
all
all.
Mother
Very
Nature, so I
nice.
just do
Thank you
the
so much, sir.
showcasing bit. That's all. Yeah. All right. We'll probably go to the how part now, right? We discussed about why I started this and why I do this. So it is both passion and the need for recording things. And there is a real, um, I would call, uh, scare which I have in terms of I don't know how many other generations after us would be privileged enough to see something like this. It is a real fear that I have, right? So that is one of the reasons why I try to maximize uh, whatever I can record, right? So the how I do the recording is in multiple ways. So so if everyone can we get to can everybody turn on their video and do a very small exercise? It would be great. Sure, Bharat, you had your hand raised.
Yeah, I had a couple of questions, but we can come to that later.
Sure. All right. Okay. All right. One quick thing. So I think many of us have turned on the videos. All right. Let's do this one very quick thing, right? We all have vision, right? So we want to focus on something. Let's put your index finger out in front of you this way, probably at some length, and keep the focus on that and try reducing the distance between that and your index finger. At some point, you will lose focus. It goes out of focus, right? So what you just saw, the last point at which the focus remained, is called the minimum focusing distance of a lens, right? So that is essentially what every lens has a certain minimum focusing distance. And for most lenses that we used, the minimum focusing distance is quite far. And what that does is it limits the resolution of what we can record, right? As we reduce the minimum focusing distance, the resolution increases. So that's essentially what a true macro lens does. It reduces the minimum focusing distance greatly and allows true to life, or in many cases, greater than life size magnification. Right? So imagine, so there is a sensor that is probably behind somewhere here. Okay, it's just our eyes, right? So our eyes are the iris, and that's how the projection happens. It goes and lands somewhere. If I can do this, a crisscross section, probably the sensor is somewhere here, right? And this projects out, and that's the image that gets recorded, right? And that has a certain, say, projection area. In a full frame camera, that projection area is 35 mm, right? Which means a true macro lens, which has a 1:1 magnification, will allow you to fill the frame with a 35 mm subject. As we use smaller and smaller smaller and smaller sensors, like the APS-C or what I use, the Micro Four Thirds, the Micro Four Thirds has a 17 mm sensor, which means I can fill the frame with a subject at its most closest to the lens, which is 17 mm. So that is a 1:1 magnification. And there are other things, like many of the jewelers or watchmakers will use a loop. And that loop, what it does is essentially changes the minimum focusing distance for the eye. So similar achromats exist for as lens attachments called the Raynox DCR 250 and others that help increase magnification and reduce the minimum focusing distance, the diopters they're called. Right. So that is essentially how the image is captured. And now comes the technical bit where So this was the art side, right, where the you sort of understand the mechanics behind it. Now there are certain real challenges out in the field. So you would have thought, right, saying try keeping your hand still at this particular thing. You can actually figure out that your hand vibrates so much, and after a certain point, it feels like more like a arti, which is going round and round rather than a very still thing. So essentially, the same thing happens when you work with both telephoto lenses as well as high magnification lenses in terms of macro, right? So what we want to do then is freeze action. How do we freeze action? By using high shutter speed. But where do we find insects? We find them in the shade. So you use a combination of high shutter speed, low ISO for getting more detail. You click, what do you get? You get a nice dark or a black frame with nothing visible. So that is where at times we opt for this thing called a external flash, right? And the external flash, it provides artificial lighting. But in that case, what happens is the contrast is so high that the midtones and the darks and the whites are never in balance. So something I end up using is called a diffuser. So essentially, if you've got maybe a LED light or something of that sort, if I can show you this, right? You actually see this actually has a LED light source behind, but has a panel in front. So that allows light to be diffused. So hence, if you see my hair and the skin, both have enough detail without it getting blown out. If I show this gets blown out. If I show this gets darker. So that doesn't happen, right? And people who are sitting in slightly harsh light, you can actually see that on their faces now, right? Soft light versus harsh light, right? Yeah. So any questions? I'd love to field some of them.
Bharat, please ask.
Yeah, I had
Yeah, go on, please.
Sanjay, can I ask?
Please go ahead.
Yeah,
Please
I
go
have a
ahead.
couple of quick questions. I mean, first of all, amazing photographs, and
Thank you.
the resolution is just great, and I think it changes the whole perspective of how we view insects.
Yeah.
So, a couple of quick questions. One is, can they feel pain in the same way, say, mammals or birds do? The second question I have is, what is the status? I mean, are they coming down in numbers? Are they stable, or are any assessments being done, or we don't know? I mean, are many of them going extinct? What is the status?
Yeah.
The third question I had is, the only way to preserve them is to preserve the natural environment, or there are other ways of, I don't know. Do you have captive breeding programs, or how is it?
All right. So I'll probably answer this in a phase like you've just done, right? Sorry, were there more,
That's it.
Bharat?
That's it. Yeah.
All right. Okay. So the pain bit, I'm not too sure. I'm not too sure on how their nervous system is. But one thing I can tell you is they're very reactive. So I'm sure, and the especially the spiders, the movement itself is very different. It's more like a what do you say? It's more fluid based. It's almost like having those school projects with the injection filled. So you can actually see where once they get punctured, you can literally see them deflate, right? But the other very interesting fact is some of them have the capability of dismembering themselves at will if they get stuck, right? And with a few molds, if they have some of them left, they regenerate over time. I know it's not a direct answer, but I'm really not perhaps qualified enough to answer that bit. Okay, so now coming to the other, which is are the numbers decreasing? I think yes, especially around cities for sure. Right, many of them really rely on very delicate ecosystems, and that ecosystem can be as tight as say a wasp, which is found only on the gaudy grasshopper. it finishes its whole life cycle on that insect. So if the conditions aren't right for the gaudy grasshopper, it is probably doomsday even for the wasp as well. Right? And also the various conditions, the use of insecticides, increasing heat, the kind of camouflage they need, the kind of areas they need for feeding, perhaps all of that is very interconnected. I see more, lesser and lesser. And I think especially as a kid, growing up in Bangalore, we used to see these, what are those called? I forget the name right now. So there are these leaves where you break, you get the white sap. Very common on the outskirts earlier. I think it starts with a C. It almost has like that star, like five petal shaped flower. Many used in the temples as well. I'm not able to recall what that is. Okay, so on that we used to see a lot of these painted grasshoppers. And now, even after you step out of Bangalore, you barely get to see them. So I think there is a definite decline. And but what was the third question? Sorry, I sort of lost it in between.
Third question was, is the only way to preserve them just preserving large tracts of natural habitat, or are there other ways of doing things?
Yeah, perhaps that. But I think beyond that, it'll get into, what do you say, man-made calotropis, right? Thank you, Nahar. Calotropis, yes.
Sir, in Tamil we say it's yerku plant.
Yeah. Right. Thank you. Yeah, I think if we do get to a human induced thing, I think we will find some form of commercial angle to it, just like how we did with the moth cocoons and silk. Right? And not many are going to be understanding enough saying why we need wasps, why we need various caterpillars, why we need crickets in the whole mix. Yeah, but I think like perhaps I faced a very similar situation where we were trying to raise awareness for the mahasir and other fish as well. I think insects literally are, and with pun, literally at the bottom of the food chain that way. Unfortunately, hope that changes. Right. So probably just a couple more questions. I'll probably take that.
Yeah, thank you for your responses.
Sure, Bharat.
Yes, Kiran sir, please go ahead.
Sir, adding to your last question and answer, in Kannada that is known as Ekkegida. You know, that flower is worshipped and put into the Shiva's
Correct.
this thing. And 80% of those insects, they are harmful insects as far as the agriculture is concerned. You know, the leaf-eating caterpillar, the mealybugs, you know, aphids, jessids, especially where the humid climate, you know, it thrives very well. And it is being controlled by either insecticide or pesticide, depending upon the classification of that. So question of preserving or multiplication question does not arise there. You know,
depends
because
on, again, I'll put up a very controversial statement, right, which says pests only mean it is troublesome for humans, not anything else.
Most of them I am talking of. Most of them I am talking. But yes, as you rightly said, in cities, we can't see now. A biggest example is the bed bugs. The adding to it one more, you know. We can't see that. But yes, in rural area, most of them you can see. And depending upon the condition of the climate, it varies.
Right. True. Thank you. All right. Anybody else?
Sir, how to follow you are you in Facebook?
I am on Instagram, so I think there is. I'll um, maybe Rashmi. I think there is a screenshot which I had right at the last slide. If you can maybe take a snapshot of that and post for everybody, that would be good. Yeah,
Or
you can probably
otherwise,
look up Hayat
or
underscore
other-
DYNO.
or otherwise you may
on.
put in our group, sir, Coimbatore group.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, there it. You can take a picture of that and thank you so much, Hayat. It was a wonderful
All
session.
right, the pleasure is mine. Sorry, we had to. We ended up doing this on a phone. I hope it was effective enough.
It was
There's one more question, Sanjay,
Yeah.
from
Yes.
Terrell.
Yeah,
Yeah.
please go on.
I
Terrell,
think Terrell's asked, has India listed insects as endangered? Have you photographed any?
Not that I'm aware of. I might have photographed some which were endangered, but I've not really seen or come across much because most of my explorations have been limited to Bangalore and maybe a bit of the Western Ghats. Some of them were undescribed species. So if that helps.
what is the most endangered insect that you have photographed, Hayat?
That's what I said. I'm not too sure on the IUCN or other ratings.
Yeah.
So I think the closest I can probably brag about is having photographed some of the undescribed species. That's it. So some spiders and I think one type of cicada which was specific to Bangalore.
Have you discovered any new species yourself?
Not myself. I've worked with some entomologists after again. So this is the beauty of the platforms, right? I initially was just doing this as a hobby, then started posting on Facebook, then later on iNaturalist. So some behaviors as well as the insects, others have approached me saying, "Hey, this is something which is a new record." So I think that helps, and I think that also adds fuel to the passion, right? Saying maybe share what isn't seen by many.
So, did your interest start with with photographing mammals, birds initially, and then move to insects, or was it right from the beginning? It was.
No, I think that's why I said the term bugger with has been with me from childhood. Right, so that was because what used to be around the house, right? But then once I was able to afford the gear. I have explored pretty much the whole range, right from the micro to the telephoto in terms of uh, photographing mammals, birds. I literally photograph anything and everything that catches my fancy. And I think that's a very long list. So I don't limit myself. But yes, given the family and office commitments that I have over the last decade have limited myself, or rather focused more on the insect and arthropod world.
That's really wonderful.
Being an IT professional, taking
Sorry?
something else. You being a IT professional, you are doing something great. I'm really loved it.
Thank you, thank you.
In a typical, say, independent house in Bangalore with just maybe a few potted plants around the house or something like that. I'm not talking about an apartment,
Right.
or but in an independent house on the ground, how many species of insects do you think will be in and around the house?
I would say upwards of a dozen to 15, easy.
Oh,
You'll
okay.
definitely find flies. You'll see spiders which land up from nowhere. Then, based on the plants, if they're especially soft stemmed, you'll tend to attract a lot more. And if they are broad-leaved, right, especially like the papayas or the others, you will see the Myotipa and other uh, uh, fine-winged insects which tend to hide under. So there are specific things which would sort of tend to associate.
Okay. Okay. Thanks.
So
Yeah.
you won't use insecticides and all, pesticides, insecticides,
Say that again, please.
pesticides and all you don't use in for your plants.
No, not at
pesticides?
all, not at all. And my mom maintains an organic garden, so that was literally was my nursery.
Okay.
So, with your permission, Hayat, there's one last question we will allow from past President Ganga. He's asking you from. He wants to ask you something. It's from
Sure.
Lusaka, Zambia. Please go ahead, past President Ganga.
Thanks, PP Sanjay. Thanks, Hayat. It's a wonderful and very interactive session, and I learned a lot of things. I was waiting for this particular bug. I don't know the name. It is there in the field where the farmer plow. There used to be plowing the land. There used to be a very rich red and silky bug. The farmers always say, "Don't destroy this. This is helpful to, is a friend to farmer."
Right.
You know, it is not every season you see this. Some particular season, this red bug is available on the soil when they plow the land.
Right.
This helps the farmers. It is a saying in the village and in the agriculture field, but I don't know how it helps, and is it worth to preserve this species, and what is the name, and what I mean, more details you have on this. It's also a question to all my friends, Rotary friends here and the group. If anybody knows about this bug, please let me know, or how to preserve this so that it helps our farmers. You know, agriculture is base of everything all over the world. Thank you,
Right.
Hat.
Sure. Okay, before I answer that, I'll give everybody else a chance based on the description. Others? Any guesses?
Can I?
Yeah, please.
So one counter question on this, that red one, does it have a multiple legs, number A? Number B, when it touches, will it make a round shape? Sir.
No, it keeps moving. It's a small bug. I can say in millimeters, maybe few millimeters, not even in centimeter, few millimeters. It doesn't shun away or doesn't wind up or nothing. It does. It keeps moving. Even if you take it in your palm, it doesn't bite or doesn't harm you. Very rich, silky red. Beautiful bug.
No,
Thank you.
only I remember the earthworm, it does.
Right.
No,
Especially
is
when
very
you enrich your
popular.
enrich your soil with
Earthworm
the
is a
farmyard
friend to a
manure.
farmer. You are right. Yeah, earthworm is a friend to a farmer, but this is a bug, small bug which keeps moving, multiple, probably 8 legs or so.
Right.
Yeah, that is
Thank
one.
you.
And number two, the earthworm, when you enrich your soil with the farmyard manure and with the high organic carbon in the soil, you know, it multiplies there.
Sure. Any more guesses? All right, I'll go for it. So, Mr. Ganga, I think what you're referring to, you could look up this thing called a red velvet mite.
Okay.
So
I
you
need
just
more
have a look at
details.
that.
Probably like me, many are in the farming also. They need
Yeah.
to preserve this bug, I believe. Please,
Right.
can you
So,
throw more
there
light
are
on that?
multiple things, right? So one is there is seasonality, like it or not. So they do not occur everywhere. So the other is likely. So did this match, Mr. Ganga?
This is the one.
Yeah.
Yes.
Perfect.
Red velvet mite.
Yeah. Right.
I'm just
So
taking a
again, these
snapshot.
prefer slightly moist conditions, and that probably says the seasonality for it.
But I don't think it helps the farmer.
So that could be a mix of either folklore or people associating it to something where they say, if this is there, again, so what we've only seen is we, especially in the scientific field, right? We often deal only things where there is visible proof. But many of these deal with chemical warfare of their own, right? So there could be possibilities where if there are large colonies of these which are underground, they may inadvertently be fighting off other kinds of bugs. So that would be the closest explanation I can provide.
Thank you. Thank you, Hayat. Thank you for the lovely picture.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Hayat. Thank you very much for joining us today and, taking us through this nature's treasures. It's a really nice, amazing pictures and very colorful. You showed us many jewels today. Thank you. I'm sure a lot of our members have shared their appreciation on the chat. Um, you have also, given us a very good message that, you need to build a connection to do conservation, that,
Sure.
yeah. And I'm glad that you're photographing everything that, you see in nature, and it's so nice to see you're building a connection in your own way, and you're spreading a word of, conservation amongst many. Thanks for joining, and this was
Sure.
indeed a great safari we have had.
Thank you.
This
Yeah.
evening.
And this is just a very small slice of what it has to offer, and a smaller slice of what I was able to see, perhaps. Yeah. I hope to see this trigger something in all of us and hopefully observe, document more. I'd be very glad.
It's already have decided on a venue for this. I'm planning to take you there and
Sure, sure, sure. Would love to.
see, what I have around my place. So
Sure, sure. Yeah.
thank you all for rejoining, I should say.
Yeah.
I really appreciate your patience. We couldn't, unfortunately, do this on our regular
No
show.
problem.
Thank you very much. Thanks for joining.
Thank you,
All
sir.
right, everyone. Have a good
Thank you.
evening and day. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you so much.